Pick up a banknote. It doesn't matter which country, which currency, which denomination. Now hold it and ask yourself the simplest question you have never actually asked. What is this exactly? Not what it buys, not what it's worth. What is it? It is paper, printed with numbers and faces and symbols that someone somewhere decided were meaningful. And you have carried these things your entire life, traded them, worried about them, built your future around them, without ever once stopping to ask what they actually are. That is not your fault, but it is worth noticing. Your first instinct is probably, it is money. It is backed by the government. It represents something real. Okay, let us pull on that thread. Backed by the government. What does that mean exactly? Pick up a British pound note. It says right there on the front, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £1, signed by the Governor of the Bank of England. Sounds solid. Sounds like a contract. But if you walk into the Bank of England and hand them that note and ask for your £1, they will hand you back another note. That's it. That's the promise. Paper for paper. It used to mean something different. For most of modern history, that promise meant gold. You could hand over your paper and receive a fixed, guaranteed weight of gold in return. The paper was a receipt. The gold was real. That ended on a Sunday evening in August 1971. Richard Nixon went on television, interrupting a popular Western, according to some accounts, and told America that the US dollar would no longer be convertible into gold. Just like that. One speech, no vote, no global negotiation. The last physical anchor between money and something tangible was cut. That moment is called the Nixon shock, and the system it created, where every major currency in the world is now backed not by gold or silver or any commodity, but purely by government authority and collective human belief, is called fiat currency. Fiat, from the Latin, let it be done. Value by decree. Worth something because the government says so, and because you agree. Think about that for a second. Money did not start this way. That is important to understand. This is not how it has always been. The earliest forms of money were commodities, things that had use value on their own. Grain, cattle, shells, salt. The word salary comes from the Latin salarium, the salt given to Roman soldiers as payment. Salt was money because salt was genuinely useful. You could eat it, preserve food with it, trade it with someone who had never met you and trusted nothing about you except the salt itself. Then came metals. Gold and silver had properties that made them almost perfectly suited for exchange. Scarce, durable, divisible, and recognized across cultures. For thousands of years, the coin in your hand contained the value it claimed to represent. Bite it, weigh it, test it. The value was physical, verifiable, real. Paper came next, and this is where the illusion starts. Goldsmiths in 17th century England began issuing paper receipts for gold deposited with them. People started trading the receipts instead of collecting the gold. They were easier to carry and easier to divide. And here is the moment that changed everything. The goldsmiths noticed that most people never came to collect their gold at the same time. So they started issuing more receipts than they had gold to back. More paper than gold. More claims than assets. That gap between what exists on paper and what exists in reality is the foundation of the entire modern financial system. It has a name: fractional reserve banking. the practice where banks hold only a fraction of their deposits in reserve, lending out the rest as new money. If you deposit 1,000 euros in a bank, the bank does not keep that 1,000 euros in a vault. It keeps a fraction, historically around 10%, and lends the rest out to someone else. That someone else deposits it somewhere, and that bank lends out 90% of it again. The same money multiplied. Most of the money in circulation today does not physically exist. It lives as numbers in ledgers, created at the moment a loan is issued. This is not a conspiracy. It is not hidden. Central banks publish it. Economists teach it. And yet almost nobody who has not studied economics knows it. The majority of money in the world is debt, created from nothing, backed by the expectation that it will be repaid. And here is something else worth knowing. The word currency comes from the Latin word currere, which means to flow, to run. Money was never designed to sit still. It was always meant to move. The moment it stops moving, the moment people stop believing in it, the flow breaks. When belief collapses, the numbers dissolve. Not slowly, overnight. In 1923 in Weimar, Germany, hyperinflation, a condition where prices rise so fast and so violently that money loses its value faster than it can be spent, reached the point where a wheelbarrow full of banknotes could not buy a loaf of bread. People burned currency for heat. It was worth more as fuel than as money. In Zimbabwe in 2008, the central bank issued a $100 trillion note. 100 trillion. It was worth, at the time of printing, approximately $40 US. By the end of the week, it bought less than that. These are extreme cases, but they are not anomalies. They are what happens when the collective agreement breaks down. When enough people stop believing at the same time, the thing they stopped believing in ceases to function. Money is not destroyed by fire or theft. It is destroyed by disbelief. Now, here is the part that actually matters. Children in most countries spend years learning how to use money, how to count it, save it, and earn it. They are almost never taught what it is. That is a gap worth sitting with, because you cannot think critically about something you have never been asked to examine. The system works. That is the honest truth. Fiat currency, for all its philosophical strangeness, has funded hospitals, built cities, and lifted billions of people out of poverty. The illusion is functional, remarkably so most of the time. But it is still an illusion, and illusions have conditions. The condition here is confidence. Specifically, confidence in the institutions, central banks, governments, and financial systems that maintain the fiction. When that confidence holds, everything flows. When it cracks, things move very fast in a direction nobody wants. You do not have to be afraid of that, but you do have to see it clearly. Because the people who understand what money actually is, who understand that it is a system of agreed belief managed by institutions and shaped by decisions made by people, are not playing the same game as everyone else. They are playing the game behind the game. That banknote in your hand is not wealth. It is not security. It is not reality. It is a promise, maintained by millions of people who have never spoken to each other, all agreeing at once, every single day, that this piece of paper means something. That agreement is more fragile than you were taught, and more powerful than you imagined. The illusion works until it does not. and understanding the difference between those two moments. That is where everything begins.